So I followed Kalpana Chawla's career path. She had started in India. She had a Bachelor of Technology in Aerospace Aeronautical Engineering. She got selected for a master's program. She moved to the US. Right after that, she got a PhD and she got selected for a job at NASA. Right. So it became very clear to me that if I had to be in this field, I would really need to specialize myself. And that specialization is something which is, characteristic of few fields. You can be a mechanical engineer and you can get into mechanical engineering and be a very good mechanical engineer. You can become an electrical engineer just with a bachelor's degree and be a very good electrical engineer. But aerospace engineering is a field where more than likely you will find people with a master's degree who are there in industry or who are part of some research organizations. And the reason for that is because when you start studying aerospace engineering, it's such a broad field. You study different aspects. Initially, you study about aircraft, you study about how do vehicles, fly in atmospheres. And then slowly and steadily you specialize, and then you can focus on different aspects of structures, engines, aerodynamics, and then you move on into more specialization. So most certainly you will be looking at a master's degree if you want to, really become a valuable resource that would really contribute to a company or an organization wherever you're planning to apply. Not to say that people don't get jobs with just BTechs, but more than likely it is a specialized field, so it requires at least a MTech or a PhD. So I was seeing her path. She had a PhD, she was working at NASA, she got selected, and she was working on exciting missions. And that was her bliss, right? That was her end goal. She was working towards achieving that, and in many ways, she has achieved that. So I said, okay, and decided to move on and see how closely I can follow her path. So I enrolled myself in a BTech in aerospace engineering. And even in the first year of my BTech, I was already reading about how do I get into the best master's school. So I had not even reached even halfway through my BTech. My eyesight was already focused on what is going to happen after this. And I started visiting websites, and I found out that there are these top US schools that offer masters in aerospace engineering. And I started looking at their admission requirements because I had just come fresh into BTech from my 12th standard. So the whole admission exercise of making sure that you are having such a rank or such a score in your school, all of those things started coming back, and I started planning. And I realized that you roughly need about 8 out of 10 score, which is a grade point average. And in US cases, in American schools, it is calculated in the 4 scale. So you need about 3.2 out of 4. This is what it was at least when I was in 2006 2007 timeframe. This is what it used to be. It might be not very different. You can have a look at what the websites are. But I was also into sports. I was studying as well as playing basketball, and because of that, I used to miss some classes. My focus was not there, and I can say this that I was not the smartest kid, even in 11th and 12th. I was quite hardworking when I needed to work hard, but I was not always a topper in the top three when I started off. And it was very clear because when my exams were being conducted and the scores were coming, I was getting very low marks. My marks were about less than 50% out of 10, about 4.84 out of 10, and I was failing in a couple of exams. And the second semester was not any better, and third semester also slightly better, but still nowhere near because I was looking at the target. My target was that I needed an 8 out of 10, and I was only getting 6.3. But I think in the fourth semester is when it was almost like a rock bottom for me, and things were not going right for me, and I was not studying very hard. I was having some other problems with my friends, and sports also. Too many things were happening, and it is normal. I think everyone goes through that kind of a phase. There's a lot of tension from family, society, and what you want to do. But I decided that look, if I have to do this, it has to be done in a certain way. And I think one thing I can say for students who are interested in space is that they are naturally inspired. Whether they put in the effort or not, that is up to them. But the inspiration quotient is most quite often there. And it's just a matter of capitalizing on that, leveraging that interest. And I think that's what I did. I really just extracted everything that I could out of the inspiration that I had for space. I still remember open the website of NASA at that point of time, and I used to read the interviews of astronauts. I used to read about the different missions. I used to download their pictures and see all their videos, and that just kept me going. And then after that, I would just switch to my textbooks, and suddenly I used to realize that yes, it is working. I'm able to concentrate and get through that chapter, learn as much as I could. So even for a person who was procrastinating, who was not the hardest working and focused, I think the inspiration really got me through it. The motivation, like you mentioned, that was what really pulled me through my exams. And I realized that as soon as I was putting in the effort, the grades started going up. So I still remember my fifth semester GPA was 9.7 and 9.43 at that point of time in a class of 30, where I used to be in the last 10 or so. I had beaten the topper of my class, and I think I still remember that was one of the highlights for me. And I finished off
Very nice.
with the last semester getting 8.11 out of 10, and I was over the moon. I was like, I've done it. I've completed my target. I have received what grade I needed to. I got recommendation letters from my faculty. They were very supportive. I was in Amity University in Noida, and we had a lot of retired Air Force officers who were teaching us, ISRO scientists as well. So I was really, really hoping that now I can get it. But unfortunately, I did not get selected either in IIT Bombay, which was my second option. If I did not get into a US, my school, my dream school was Purdue. Purdue University is a top university for aerospace, and they rejected my application. I did not get selected, and I also did not get selected for the master's program at IIT Bombay. So I was completely rejected, and I realized that at the end of the day, you can be chasing one goal and you can achieve all the finish all the make all the ticks in the checkbox, but again you'll have a problem. You'll never be able to reach there, and you have to realize that at some point of time you just have to worry about the effort you're putting in and leave the rest to destiny, that something or the other will work out. Your task is to just remain prepared to complete everything that from your side you had to do, and keep looking for opportunities. These are the two things: stay prepared and keep looking for opportunities. As soon as you do those things, something will work out. And that happened with me. So I was selected not for the master's program, but I got a research fellowship. And I still remember I was invited for the interview to IIT Bombay after my BTech. I went there, we gave an interview. There were almost 30 students there who came for my friend who was my roommate from Amity. Both of us had gone, and we were completely when we looked at all the other students, they all looked like these very serious students, and some had come from all over the country, and we were feeling that we won't get selected. But it turned out that only my friend and I got selected, and none of the others got selected. So we were very surprised. But somewhere the hard work that we had put in, it did not reflect in our selection for the first thing that we wanted. But I got the 1 year research fellowship. So I worked hard at IIT Bombay. I spent 1 year in the lab, in the combustion lab there. And I really, aerospace engineering and IIT Bombay is one of the best in the country. They are one of the top schools in the country for aerospace engineering. The other school is IISc Bangalore and IIT Bombay. So I was able to work alongside some of the best aerospace students in the country, and I got some good support from my mentor there as well, and recommendation letters as well. And because of that recommendation letters, it is very important to get, if you want to go abroad for studies, you have to get solid, strong recommendation letters. And most of these letters will only be written for you if you have sincerely worked on some project. And that's only when you get some very high reputable scientists writing good recommendation for you. So I was able to get that, and I think that really pushed my application, and I got selected to go to the Netherlands to do a master's in aerospace engineering. And while I was there, I was very fortunate to apply. I was, like I said, there is two things you need to do. One is you stay prepared, you have studied all the courses that you need to, you get all the information, and the other is opportunity. So even when I was in Netherlands, my eyesight was still towards NASA, and I was looking for all opportunities. I was always scanning all websites, looking at, speaking with other professors, everything. And fortunately, there was a summer internship program that was being offered at NASA Ames at that point of time, and I attended a talk in my university in the Netherlands. And at the end of the talk, the person who had given the talk, he had come with someone else, a manager, I think, who was with him. Someone from NASA had come, and we just approached, I and my couple of other friends, we just approached them and we started saying that, we are very interested, we'd like to know more. And little did we know that, they took our email IDs, our information, and they stayed in touch. And, we got an opportunity to come and join them, and we gave a Skype interview. And I got a 6-month initial summer internship approval to go from Netherlands to NASA. And so once we reached NASA, we were just completely blown apart. Like, you are staying in a place where some of the best theories that you have studied in your textbook have been postulated. Some of the best experiments of the high-speed aircraft, high-speed flows were conducted in the very labs, where you're going to be walking past and you're seeing these places. And then it just hits you that it is such an unreal feeling that at one point of time, just looking at some foreign names on some textbook, and within 1 year from there or 2 years from there, you're actually standing in the lab, which is very close to where that person used to work. And that is a very empowering feeling. You feel as if you have finally arrived, and it gives you a lot of confidence, it gives you a lot of boost. So you should always try to work towards that. And I think I did not meet one person at NASA who was demotivated with his job and felt very bored and lacked any interest. Everybody was passionate. So it is very important to work in environments where you're surrounded by passionate people, because that energy, it keeps floating around. One day somebody has a bad day, he goes somewhere, he attends some talk or he sees some project, suddenly his energy will spring back. And everything is in the mind. We all feel very dejected when we're not able to do anything, but things happen. So I was there, I had reached there, and then that 6-month internship turned into, I got a position there as a research scholar. And I was there for another year and a half. I worked on 2 projects. I won't go into details. From there, I moved to Australia. I got myself a PhD. I did a PhD from Australia because it was a fully funded university scholarship. The reason why I left NASA and went to Australia was because, as a foreign national, I was an Indian national working inside the NASA center. The opportunities were limited in terms of growth, career growth. Personally, that's what I felt. As an engineer, you can work there for a long duration, but if you want to lead a mission, if you want to become a principal investigator, and that is what I wanted to do. I wanted to work on projects where I have a team that is working on developing a mission. So normally how it happens is there is a term called as PI. PI is called principal investigator. So you have your entire team as a PI, and under that you have project managers, you have project scientists, and different engineers who are then contracted to do work. And I still aspire to work in that kind of an environment, and that is what is my career path so far. And to do that, most of these people are super specialized. They have PhD degrees, and they come back as research scholars in their particular field after doing their PhD and their research, and then they kind of move up. And I think that is what I was really going towards. And I decided to go to Australia because the position was very exciting. The topic of my PhD was very exciting for me. And a PhD in US would have had another 6 years, 5 to 6 years of studying. Whereas in Australia, you have opportunity to get a PhD in 3.5 years, because it is a research only PhD if you're going there after your master's. So I wanted to save time. I wanted to ensure that I don't spend too much time in university. So in the long run, I think it has benefited, because I moved to Australia in 2014, and I was able to get a PhD until 2018. So it took me about 4 years, completed my PhD, and I moved back to India. And the reason why I have moved back to India is because currently our Indian Space Agency is undertaking some very exciting projects, and the kind of freedom and liberty I have as an Indian national to work here is far more than, in terms of leading a project, is far more than the kind of opportunity I could have had if I was back at NASA. Now, it works both ways. It's not like I'm saying that it's completely, uh, you know, black and white, that you can only work in India and you cannot go to NASA. Specifically for my field within space sciences, currently the position that I got, I was very fortunate to get a position to establish a completely new research center. And these are all different kinds of ways in which you get experience. When you set up a new research lab, you hire students, engineers, scientists who work to help develop the kind of work you're doing. And I've continued to have working relationship with my colleagues at NASA, Now even with ISRO, we are having a lot of people who we are working with. So I think I am doing what I wanted to do. I am working on exciting space missions, and whether I do that in India or whether I sit and do it in US, for me personally, the tag is not important. That I'm sitting in NASA or I'm sitting in some fancy location or a country and doing it. For me, the work is important. So wherever the work is interesting and challenging, I have in the past moved there, whether it is in the Netherlands or if it is in US or Australia. So that has been my personal journey, and I have been happy throughout. I think, of course, you are having your setbacks, you're having your low moments, but one thing I realized is that it's not like you have to achieve certain degrees or certain position and then suddenly you will be happy one day. You'll wake up and you'll have this glow on your face. It doesn't work like that. Whatever decisions you make as you're going through your careers, you might be in your first year or second year or third year, you have to always find those short-term happiness. Go and do a little course or take up a new hobby, or if it even means eating an ice cream that will make you feel good, do it. Don't hold back. Don't think that one day I will do this. When that happens, don't wait for that. So it is a set of personal short-term goals that make sure that you're in a happy situation as you kind of move along. And lastly, I think the other thing that I'm getting right now is an opportunity to serve my country, because the work that I'm doing is helping establish some of the work that will be going for ISRO and for some of the work that we're setting up here in India. So that's an added benefit of working here. So like I mentioned, this was my journey going from India to the Netherlands to US and coming back to India.